On Wales Tonight, exclusive details of how South Wales Police mishandled a high-profile murder inquiry. An inquiry that left 3 men in prison for 11 years.
The National News of Wales, tonight with Nicola Haywood-Thomas and Lucy Cohen.
Good evening and welcome to the programme.
Hello, tonight's other top stories.
Chaos on the M4. A burning coal tip brings one of our busiest roads to a standstill.
Victory for the little guys who kept their non-spill cup Welsh.
And will Derby County be the next Premiership side to fall foul of the Swans in the FA Cup?
Those stories coming up. But first, news of that damning report into the way South Wales Police conducted a murder investigation. Tonight, HTV can reveal that officers unlawfully detained suspects and wrongly denied them access to legal advice.
Those dramatic findings are contained in a report written by a senior Thames Valley police officer late last year. It could play a key part in the appeal of 3 men jailed for 11 years for the murder of the Cardiff newsagent Philip Saunders. The 3, Michael O'Brien, Ellis Sherwood and Darren Hall, have long protested their innocence. Last month they were released from prison on bail after the Criminal Cases Review Commission referred their case to the appeal court. Crucial to that decision was the report by the Thames Valley detective on how colleagues in South Wales handled the murder investigation.
And it's the results of that investigation which we have now seen. In a moment, I'll be speaking to Stuart Hutton, solicitor for Darren Hall, about their implications. But first, here's our reporter Simon Morris with the details.
The Criminal Cases Review Commission referred the case to the appeal court for 3 reasons. A key confession by Darren Hall was probably false. There were questions relating to the evidence of a conversation in which Michael O'Brien and Ellis Sherwood allegedly incriminated themselves. And, most damagingly for the police, that there was a systematic disregard of suspects' legal rights. Michael O'Brien, who's seen the report, was only 20 at the time of his arrest.
I had no inclination of my rights whatsoever. I didn't know what they could do, what they couldn't do. Obviously, since I've been in prison, I've educated myself and I now know, but unfortunately, it's 11 years too late.
The Criminal Cases Review Commission's conclusions were based on the report completed by Detective Superintendent Alan Partridge of Thames Valley Police last October. That identifies numerous occasions when there was no record of Hall's whereabouts when he was in custody, and concludes it would be difficult to resist the suggestion that Hall was interviewed off the record. On allegations that Hall was handcuffed to a radiator, the report quotes an officer stationed at Canton in Cardiff where the men were questioned as saying it was highly likely because it was common practice.
I surely believe that he is a man who was vulnerable. If you put pressure on him, he's susceptible to pleasing people, if you like, you know, to take the pressure off himself. And by any means necessary. If that means putting some people in, then that's already what he's already done.
The police report says the men were unlawfully detained because officers didn't properly consider whether they could be held any longer. They were wrongly denied legal advice for most of the time they were in custody. And all 3 may have been interviewed off the record.
I was myself subjected to, denial of solicitor. So was Ellis Sherwood, which bears out in the reports. There was times where the police couldn't even account for our whereabouts. Yet, according to one custody record, we were supposed to be interviewed, but in another custody record, we were actually in the cells. Now, that cannot be. We can't be in 2 places at once.
The appeal itself is yet to be heard, but Michael O'Brien says it justifies his 11-year fight.
It's hard to try and get people to believe what I was saying, and to have an investigating officer stating that what I was saying was right, it does help a lot, I would say. I would say it's very significant. Everything, as I said 10 years ago, is actually in that report. And I've got to be honest, I think the Thames Valley Police have done a good job.
So you feel vindicated?
To a degree, I think, I'm very anxious for the appeal to come up. I want my name clear. That's what I fought for 11 years, and I fought hard. I haven't had it easy since I've been in prison. you know, just waiting for the appeal is agony in a sense, because I just want it to come. I want to clear my name, and then maybe, just maybe, we can start looking for the real person who done this crime, because they're still out there.
Well, we asked for a response from South Wales Police. In a statement, the head of CID, Detective Superintendent Wyn Phillips, said, "We are aware of the matters reported on by Thames Valley Police as part of their investigation into this case, but as the case is pending appeal, it would be inappropriate for us to comment further at this time."
Well, joining me now is Stuart Hutton, solicitor for Darren Hall, one of the 3 jailed men. Mr. Hutton, you've seen this report by the Thames Valley detective. What do you make of it?
It supports everything that Darren Hall and the other people have always been advancing, so it's encouraging. I want to stress very quickly, if I may, that the report is an independent report, and that's what matters. It's not just what the defendants are saying, but it's supporting them entirely.
What, for you, is the most serious finding in this report, and why?
I think that collectively they all make the findings extremely serious, but perhaps the most significant aspect is the retraction by a large body of the prosecution witnesses who have said that what they said was not correct, and I find that disturbing.
How damaging is it, do you think, for South Wales Police?
In this particular instance, extremely damaging. That doesn't mean to say that everything that they touch is damaged or damaging, but the case is an alarming and concerning case without any doubt at all.
How have procedures changed since 1987?
Well, the interesting thing about this case is that in relation to the earlier miscarriages of justice that we've had, the police have always said that, those miscarriages arose at pre-pace. This is not a pre-pace, that's Police and Criminal Evidence Act matter. The custody time limits, the welfare of prisoners, and all the security aspects that are taken into account to ensure that confessions or statements are dealt with fairly were all supposed to be in place at that time, and it shows that during those earlier days that those safeguards did not work.
So could anything like this happen again?
Not if everybody obeys the spirit of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, which is in place for a specific purpose, that is to say, to avoid this situation, because Darren Hall and the others were kept in custody beyond their custody time limit period, and therefore were held in custody unlawfully, which is wrong.
Stuart Hutton, thank you very much indeed. We must leave it there.
Let's move on to more